Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Knecht, president of Universal Accounting Center, and this is a podcast dedicated to actually helping owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses build their accounting business with confidence and competence, offering quality accounting services and getting paid what they're worth. It's here that we'll actually discuss a variety of topics each and every week with the experts ranging from marketing and selling to pricing to client onboarding, tech stacks, mental health, and so many more things. And today's going to be no exception. Today, I'm excited to have on here a guest, someone I've known for a little while. It is Leslie Liondas. She happens to be the owner of Leslie Liondas CPA PLLC, where she actually helps other accountants, bookkeepers, tax preparers get off their hamster wheel through her business evolution system. It's a ClickUp implementation and outsourced bookkeeping service that she provides. Her goal is to help her clients work towards their ideal business. She loves helping their accountants and bookkeepers actually enjoy their businesses again and not work all the darn time. So, Leslie, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here.
This is going to be a great conversation. I think we're on a similar mission, so this is going to really resonate, I believe, with a lot of listeners, people listening. So, first of all, let's kind of get a background on you and give it some context. What brought you to the accounting profession? What got you into the industry?
I was actually in retail management for many years before, and I was going through a divorce, and I had two small children, and I was like, how can I possibly raise my kids and be there for them? And I was working in retail a lot of hours. So my mom had a bookkeeping firm at the time, and she's like, you need to go back to school and become an accountant, because then you can be at home with your kids and all this stuff. Well, fast forward, I ended up getting my MBA in accounting. I got my CPA license, and I took over my mom's firm, and it completely stunk. I was working more than I was working in retail management at Christmas, because my mom had built a business the way the traditional accounting firms had built their businesses. So it had wrong pricing. It had so many things where we couldn't grow and scale without working all the time. So that put me and my business partner on a mission to figure out how we could change things from that traditional model.
So there's a lot there that I'd like to actually dive into. So first of all, you were in a position where life had changed. You were needing to get back into the workforce. You had this history. Your mother comes along and says, well, embrace what I'm doing. It works well for us. You get that enticement, go back to school. So many of the people listening, I'm sure, can resonate with the fact that life has those life-changing events and things that are unexpected come in and throw a curveball at us. How was it that you actually then saw accounting as a solution? Was it just something that you were going to try, something that you were, excited about, even though it turned out differently? Were you inspired by your mother and drawn towards that?
Honestly, I was driven by what can I do to show my kids that things could be different, that they didn't have to work all the time. And that is what inspired me to find something. And I think that's what's put me on my mission even now, to help other accountants find that same solution.
It's amazing what we'll do for our kids and how they drive us to do things we wouldn't otherwise do. I agree with that. All right. So here you are, you go into school, you become a CPA, and at the end you are working with your mother and you're like, this isn't working. This is not what I thought it would be. It's your mom's business. How open was she to change and listening to your input as to this isn't right?
She wasn't. But under Texas law, I had to take over the firm under the CPA license. So I basically had to part ways with my mother. She took half the clients, went one way. I took the other half, went the other way. And the rest was history. And it made family dinners a little bit difficult for a while, but we have worked through that. But I had to make that change to show, because I couldn't support my kids on that model. My business partner was also a single mom with two kids. She could not support, because I drug her into this mess. So we had to find a way out, because failure was not an option.
So give us the difference between what your mother was doing and what you wanted to do. How were those so different?
I wanted to work from my backpack. And this was back in 2014 when QuickBooks Online was just really becoming really powerful. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to travel. That was my ultimate goal, was to be able to travel, be able to show my kids the world, and be able to take vacations and not have to worry about work. But as I developed to work for my backpack, I also saw I was working all the time. And so while my kids were sitting in there in their bathing suits ready to go to the beach, mom was sitting there working. So it just was not working out because it was financial failure that I was so scared of.
You're actually touching on something that I think is very important that I'd like to kind of cover here for a minute. There's this allure of we can do our business anywhere. There's the expats and so forth that are traveling. We're all able to, with technology today, do the work remotely from anywhere. That's beautiful, and it's very alluring because people do have that. I think many people have that desire to exactly, travel and experience the world, and this affords them that flexibility. But you just hit a very important point, which is I've experienced the travel, I've experienced this allure, but my kids, I'm traveling with the family, and they're like, "But Dad, come play with us, not work on the beach, not work at the side of the pool, actually come play with us." And so you've got to kind of dive into that two more elements. One, I get to work when I want, not just where I want, when I want, and I can check out. I need to be able to, through systems, processes with the employees, delegate things to the point that I can kind of step away and not worry about things. Can you talk to those two additional elements of not just working where we want, but when and whether or not we want to work?
Mm-hmm. And that came down to, I really had to look at who our ideal and non-ideal clients were, because we had some clients that refused to work with anybody but me. So either I had to reform them or I had to move them along. And as a business owner, that's scary. So we began to work to make our business run not only without my business partner and myself, but also where team members could go out for extended periods of time. And I'm not talking about just a weekend. I'm talking about weeks at a time. So I have made where my business partner and I have went on a 3-week vacation with no communication at all with our clients or our team. And it took time to develop that out, but it was well worth it because I came back with so much more creativity and love for my business that I had never had before.
Well, you're starting to lead and guide the business rather than just work in it. And that's, I think, very inspiring to a lot of us. Now, you talked about these clients that are kind of dependent upon you. They think that as they became clients of yours, that they had access to you. So I want to talk about two things. One, this conundrum, this misnomer that your clients believe and think they have to have direct access to you, and breaking them of that expectation or educating them of that, creating those boundaries, but also with the growth of your firm, actually hiring and instilling confidence in employees to be client facing, helping them actually interact directly with the clients. Can you talk to either of those 2 points?
First, I want to talk about my turning point when I realized that this was a problem.
Okay.
I was in a meeting with one of our largest clients at the time, and the owner told me, I can train monkeys to do what your team does. And that hit to the core because I wasn't the one doing the work. So I figured out I had a miscommunication with the clients, and I was doing them a disservice by not letting them know how much the team was actually involved.
Very good.
And so I really had to start really focusing in on building that relationship between my team and clients because they didn't see it and I needed to show them to see it. And so we started working that.
Yeah, I think a lot of times the employee or the client, they're under the impression that the employees either don't exist or don't do all the things that they are in fact doing for us. And so that education is so critical for that client to realize what it is they're paying for. They're paying for this accounting team to take care of their needs. And so it's not just this one individual, you perhaps, that they're seeing. It's a group of people that are taking care of that need. And I like that. That's really good to educate them on. What was the second point that you were going to say?
The second point is getting the team comfortable with doing that. And the way we did that is if the client had a question, I would make my team answer the question. And if they didn't know the answer, they would have to come to me with 3 answers of what they thought it was. And then I would guide them, but I never interjected. I made the team tell the client. So therefore, even though it was my answer, they felt it was the team's answer. And then empowering my team. When I talked about that 3-week vacation, the team came together on a complicated thing a client had. and they gave the client the answer. And that was such great feedback from a client. He was like, your team gave me the best advice ever. And after that, they're so empowered to do it themselves.
I love this. So I'm going to add to what we're discussing here something that I personally experienced, and I'm sure many people will relate or appreciate this. It's the fact that when I was actually trying to delegate various elements of the work to the employees, I was training them, and in that process of delegation, found that because I'm the president, because I'm the one that's the face of so many things going on, I'd have customers, clients that would come to my employees, not like the answer they were being given, and they would want to elevate it to me. And I did two things. One, I firmly instilled in the employee, no, your decision is the final decision. You are the be all end all of this. And so I am only going to support you. So you can confidently tell the person, you are the decision maker. There's no need to speak with anyone else. I am the person that makes this decision. But to help instill that, there were instances early on where I had to actually speak with the customer or client and say exactly that. I realize you want to talk to me. I realize I'm the president of the company, but I hire and pay that other individual to manage this. They have the details. They have the information. I don't know what's going on intentionally. I trust them. They're making the final decision. And when my employees saw that I trusted their choice, honestly, it was hard sometimes. They sometimes may do things differently than me, but I needed them to be confident enough with their choices and really own those things that they were doing for the customer and client. And all of a sudden, the customers started to sense in that communication, oh, I am talking to the person that can make the decision. And this isn't going to go anywhere else if I speak to someone different. And when I started to actually show to the employee that I had their back and show to the customers, you're not getting anything talking to me because I'm just going to defer back to whatever was said before. That was huge. That was a game changer for my clients and most importantly for my employees. Any experience like that you've had?
Yes, exactly what you just described. And when they know that they're not going to get anything different, they'll follow it. But you have to empower your team, and your team has to know you have their back. And if they make
Yeah.
a mistake, then we do address it internally, but we use it as a learning experience where they know that, hey, I messed this up, but it's okay. And I always say it's a process problem. It's not a
Yep.
person problem. It is a process problem.
You're right. There's sometimes, and I mentioned it, that sometimes they make decisions differently than I would have. And I will take them internally without the customer's involvement at this point and say, by the way, for future reference, you may want to consider this. And I'll help them realize, okay, this choice that you made will have these kinds of ramifications. This is the long-term effect of that. So as a policy, I don't know that that's healthy for us or the customer. We may want to consider this other option. And honestly, what happens is I sometimes expose them to a choice that they weren't aware existed. And they're like, oh, okay, I can see how you're thinking that way. And they become more and more aware of my line of thinking, the policies that we have in the company. And honestly, there are instances where as a company, it gives us a chance because of that unique situation to come up with new policies and procedures to address that situation and document it so that if and when it comes up again, we've taken that experience and we've learned from it. And we have something new that we can kind of lean back onto. So I'm loving this conversation. All right. So let's go now to your business. I started with the idea of it differentiated, being different from your mother's business. How has it evolved? What's your business today?
We still do accounting and we still do tax, but we've also grown into the coaching space for accountants in developing a business model where they can check out, where they have the task management, the processes in place, they have the systems, and that where their team is empowered to make those type of decisions. But we still have the accounting and tax side too. So we're teaching not only the accountants, but we also teach small business owners as well, because I've seen so many business owners in all industries that are falling into the same trap where they're just working even more than if they would have had a full-time job.
Yeah, we are busy. Yes, that's true. So I want to go to your 2 points there and kind of go a little bit deeper. You brought up, first of all, systems and processes. What do you feel for the accounting professional holds us back from implementing these processes and procedures that would ultimately allow us to hire other people, delegate things to them, and have others do this? What holds us back from actually doing that?
Overwhelm and control. we're afraid to give up control.
Yeah, let's talk about the overwhelm. I want to first go there, and then we'll go to control. Overwhelm. I do speak with a lot of accounting professionals, and there is this anxiety, this sense of overwhelm that they're experiencing. What causes this? What do you think you're seeing as you're talking to them that may bring this on?
There's so much, for lack of better words, noise in the accounting industry around them. So there's so many different apps. So they get hung up on technology that overwhelms them because they think they have to have a specific piece of technology to use to even start, which is not true. They get overwhelmed because they're so deep in the work of working in their business that they can't see the forest from the trees. So they don't know where to start. And so they just don't.
Very, very true. I experience the exact same thing with those I'm working with. It is overwhelming. They see all the shiny objects. They don't know which ones to embrace and implement. And honestly, I don't think when they do pick a particular technology as part of their office tech stack, they fail to oftentimes do enough of the training to fully implement it in the business. And therefore, it's I've got one thing, another thing, another thing, and you're just doing them all halfway. You're never really fully vested, and you've got to go deep with each of these to integrate them fully. Um, so I want to just talk about this overwhelm. I think there's two elements that contribute to it. So many of the firms feel like the customers, the clients are doing work with them, not their business. And so they really struggle to separate what is being done by their company for the customer and what they have to do. And so that overwhelm is I have to do it. If you want it done right, you have to do it yourself. If you want it done right, you've got to be the one to do it because nobody else is as good as you. All those types of things fall into that. Would you add anything more as to why they may feel overwhelmed?
A lot of it is because they're not looking at what is the most valuable thing I can do for my business each day. And that drove me to where I'm at today because all these checklist items, they're not, if they're not valuable, I'm not doing them. But what is the most valuable as an owner that I should be doing every single day? And what should I not be doing? And that's the number one process I need to work on.
Oh, I love this. So I have a three-part phase to this when I go over this with my clients. It's we first of all have to document. Once we've documented it, we can duplicate it, have somebody else do it. Once they're doing it, we need to delegate it, get to a point where we can actually give them the responsibilities.
Mm-hmm.
That whole process, I think, makes it easier for the client, for the accountant to really intentionally go through steps to ultimately have somebody else being the one responsible. And so that's one of the things that I experience. And that usually kind of addresses this overwhelm because all of a sudden things start coming off their plate. They start to realize there's things that they no longer are responsible for because they now have been delegated. Anything you'd want to add to that?
And having them own the outcome has been huge. So
Yeah.
like when I was learning my marketing program, I learned it and then I delegated it. And then but I also let them own the outcome of what we were building together. So that helped the team also buy into it because they were owning what happened with it.
Very good. Very good. All right. So we started with the overwhelm. The other is control, the fact that they feel they have to control it all. Talk to us about that.
One thing I see with control, it's not really that they want to have all the control. It's they're afraid of something slipping through the cracks.
Mm.
And so that's why they feel that I need to do it, or they'll give it to somebody and it circles right back to them, but it's because they don't have all the pieces. So when you delegate something, you only give them a portion. And so it comes right back to you. So then automatically you think, oh, I have to do this myself because nobody else can do it. And I've lived this life because I even told my business partner, I'm like, nobody's ever going to be able to do this tax side. And she's like, why not? And I started looking at it. It's still just a process. So I documented the process and I haven't looked back.
I love this. This is wonderful. Okay, so overwhelming control typically kind of frees the accounting professional to actually delegate things, get them off their plates. We've talked about this process. I mentioned obviously the document, duplicate, delegate as being a way to actually transition there. That's wonderful. One of the things that I also wanted to ask is as you're working with accounting professionals, what's something that you feel they experience as they implement these changes in their business? What does it afford them that all of a sudden they're able to realize where beforehand they were just kind of stagnant or they were kind of plateaued and not moving forward.
They're able to realize what is possible, that it doesn't have to be that way. So like some of our coaching clients have told us, now I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up, but now I do. And I have the vision of where I want to go. And so that helps me make a roadmap of how to get there. So, but when you're so deep in overwhelm and control, you can't see where you really want to go. So like for me, it was to be able to travel and not work all the time. And unfortunately, my kids are now 24 and 20. It took me too long to get here to affect my kids. But
Yeah.
as adults, I can still be there for them. But I think that's why this has become a passion of mine, because there's so many people coming into the accounting space for the same reasons I did.
Yeah, I like this. This is wonderful. So I'm going to add to what you just mentioned and share what I've experienced, because I break it down into three components. And it's first of all, this realization that I work with accounting professionals that they have a job. Yes, they own the business. Yes, they are the ones running the business. But at the end of the day, the job owns them. The work owns them. And so they define themselves, like we've already discussed, overwhelmed, out of control, just consumed, working long days. They're great at what they do. They're making an impact. They're making good money, perhaps, but they are at that point in a job. If it doesn't get done by them, it's not going to get done, basically. I help them move from being in a job to what I define as a lifestyle. They finally get to enjoy the lifestyle of an owner, the independence and freedom that they were looking for, perhaps the financial independence that they were hoping for. That right there is a real big transition to go from that jobs idea of every day I'm having to be in the office to now I have a lifestyle where I have choices, options, and I choose to go in or not go in. And that's a real big deal for them. But ultimately, I think the pinnacle of all of this is when they move from that lifestyle experience into an owner mentality, where they're actually the visionary, the one that's giving kind of the breath of life to their business, but they're no longer involved in the day-to-day operations. They're like an investor. And all of a sudden, they're at that point where they have key people, whether it be office management or employees, taking care of the work. The day-to-day is getting done, not by them. And all of a sudden, they get to be the owner. And that's what I think they aspire to be. And honestly, that's something they can get excited about. So definitely we're moving from that solo entrepreneur status. It is requiring, whether it be W-2 or 1099 type relationships, to start delegating things. But ultimately at the end, it makes us so that we actually have a business that we can be proud of. I refer to it as being in business for yourself, but now having a living, breathing entity that operates apart from you as it applies to the day-to-day operations of the business. So anything you would want to add to that?
Yeah, because that's exactly what I was going for. And that's exactly what same kind of thing that we work to get people out of working in their business to where they're working on it so much. Because, and I've noticed people, once they get out of working on their business, their whole personality changes, where they go more into that visionary role. And so like for me, I work like between 26 and 30 hours a week, and it's when I choose to work. Um, and if I'm not creative, I'm not working, because that's where I like to stay 90% of the time. And it's so impactful when you can stay there in your business that way.
Yeah. One of the things I also found, and I'm curious what you would say about this, there is something to be said for doing the compliance work, obviously taking and doing for our clients the necessary accounting, bookkeeping, tax, where we're basically taking care of all those needs from payroll to tax returns and so forth. We're basically keeping them in compliance with the government. We're taking care of things as it relates to maybe their financial obligations. Everything's hunky-dory in that regard. But what I'm talking about is once we're doing all of that, it allows the accounting firm owner to maybe get into more of the advisory role, the CFO role with their clients. And now all of a sudden, they're getting to be more creative and interactive with their clients and help these businesses that they're working with, that they actually have some pretty good knowledge of what's going on in the business, go to a whole nother level as well. So it's no longer about just working in our business. It's now starting to work with all of our clients in that creative space of helping them work on their businesses. And that's where a lot of good money is. And more importantly, I think that's some of the creative space. After being accounting professionals for so many years, we can leverage our experience now and take it to the community and help these other businesses. Would you add anything more to that?
And I think that's the other thing that holds accountants back in that. That's where imposter syndrome, I feel, is comes up the biggest, is because when they feel like they're in the weeds so much, they
Mm-hmm.
can't help the other business owners, because who am I to help you when I am dealing with this? I can't make my business better. So how can I help you? So that's why I think it's so important for accountants to be able to get their business where they want it. And it will remove imposter syndrome, because they've been there and they've done it in their own firm, and sharing their experiences with their clients as a business owner instead of as an accountant will be so impactful to so many people that I wish more would do it.
This is beautiful. I love imposter syndrome that you brought it up, because so many experience it. And we do need to address it as a profession to realize that our clients need our help and we are in the way because what we're doing within our own minds. But the thing that I'd like to really emphasize is something that you just pointed out. These clients really can benefit from us if we actually treat ourselves as peers. I think if we can see ourselves as business owner working with business owner, we can have a much healthier relationship. And you're, I think, spot on. All of a sudden, when you get to that point where it's that peer-to-peer interaction, it's a totally different experience with our clients when they actually kind of respect and see us as business owners, not just accountants and bookkeepers and tax preparers. We also are owning and running and operating a business like them, and they see us as peers because of the decisions we're making and implementing in our business, and they want to hear how those might apply to them as well. So this is perfect. All right, so I want to go on to something else that you alluded to, and I want to go a little deeper on this. You talked about being a single mother, starting, building your business, breaking away from your own mother, all about your kids and having that flexibility and freedom. And you commented a moment ago that they are now adults. They're in their 20s at this point. What do you feel they've learned from you as they watched you build your business and be the person you are? What do you hope, or what do you think they've learned from this experience?
My oldest daughter, who is 24, went to nursing school. And that was what her goal was since she was a young child. She went to nursing school. She unfortunately was in nursing school when COVID happened. They went completely virtual. She was threatened to get kicked out because they only allow 2 fails in that particular nursing school. And she was like, "Mom, what do I do?" And I was like, "What do you want? Think about what you want. And if this is really what you want, you've got to fight for it with everything that you have." She moved back home. She finished her nursing degree with that school and is now a NICU nurse, and moved 4 hours away from home because I told her the world is yours. And I was able to travel with her to show her things were different. My 20-year-old is now moving away from home to live with her sister in that same area to go to UT San Antonio in marketing, because they have learned, I'm hoping, not to give up.
I'm loving this because I, like you, feel that as an example, we help our children realize so much potential. They can do so many things because they see us push through and strive through hardships and successes. And I think that what you've done for your children is amazing. I'm really happy to hear that they've, through the travel and through observing you, found it within themselves to pursue their own dreams. This is beautiful. So this is a great question. What advice would you give to your younger self, someone who was in a similar situation as you were, a single mother needing to start back into the workforce, trying to find herself? What advice would you give to your younger self, having these 2 younger children with you as well?
I would do it all the same way, honestly. I would do it all again. As hard as it was, I would still do it all again, because everything I learned during that time has made me a better person now.
So what advice would you give, though? What would you tell yourself?
To just keep doing what your gut is telling you to do.
Very good. So individuals listening to this, maybe in one of 2 situations as it may relate to you. One, they could be starting out, and 2, they could be in a position like you where they have had this success. So let's talk about the one starting out who's listening here and may be inspired by your journey. What advice would you have for them if they're basically in a similar path and just in that startup phase?
To find a coach or a mentor that they resonate with, because you don't have to do it all on your own. And you can do, and there are shortcuts that the right coach and the right mentor can teach you, because I wish I would have had that when I was going through this journey, because that's why it took me so long to get here, was because I was trying to do it on my own.
Excellent advice. I couldn't agree more. You don't need to feel like you're alone, and you don't need to feel like you have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. There is a process. You can do this. There's so many others that have actually started and built their accounting businesses. You don't have to feel like you've got to figure it all out on your own from scratch. Excellent advice. And that of a coach, so very important. There's a lot to be said about having someone hold us accountable, and also helping us navigate some of these decisions we have to make, where we can talk it through with someone that we have a safe environment with, a safe zone with. That's so healthy. That's wonderful advice. All right. How about someone that's more a peer to you at this point, who, like you, have had this success and is growing? What would you say to them?
Figure out where you want to go and if you're aligned to get there, because that was so important to me, as I had to figure out which clients were aligned and which ones were not aligned. So figure out where you want to go, and is your team aligned? Is your clients aligned? Is where you're going aligned with where you feel like you should be in the next year, 2 years, or 3 years?
That's beautiful. Have vision and get aligned. And one of the things that I would add to that is, you're right. You need to do a client assessment periodically. I would advise every 6 months or 12 months, just basically to realize, is this client really benefiting from my services as I think they should? And are they happy? And am I happy? And that assessment is powerful. And I've seen many of people, for lack of a better word, let go, help people move on, to say, maybe my services aren't meeting your needs. Maybe you'd get better treatment and services from someone else, and you help them find that transition into some other service. So wonderful advice. We've talked a lot about travel here today. I have to ask, where did you go? Tell me what kind of travel. Are we talking domestic, international? Where did you go with the kids? Did you do any on your own? Give us a little bit of a feel as to travel.
We would take the kids on road trips. We would drive from South Texas. We've driven all the way to New York, to the Niagara Falls. We've driven to New York City. We've driven to Virginia, South Carolina, Florida. When my oldest daughter graduated high school, she wanted to go to the San Diego Zoo. So we took her on a road trip. We flew to Seattle and then drove all the way down to San Diego. That was the best road trip with my kids. That has been some of the best memories I have had with my kids. And that's something that you get to carry with you forever.
That is beautiful. I love road trips. I am all about it. I've had some road trips with my son that have been amazing. One from Phoenix to Salt Lake, another from Salt Lake. We went all the way up to Montana and then over to Devil's Peak and it's escaping me right now. All the faces. I wanted to say Monument Valley, but that's Utah. Where all the faces: George Washington, Lincoln.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking
Roosevelt. Mount Rushmore.
Yeah.
So we went to Mount Rushmore and then back to Utah. Yeah, that's why I got stuck on Monument Valley. So anyways, yeah, I love road trips. That's amazing. So when my kids were young, we would go, and what was funny is we'd go to a hotel, and the most important thing that they enjoyed wasn't any of the local attractions, which we had traveled so far to see. It was the hotel pool. I'm like, I can go to a pool down the street. Why did I go all the way across the country for the pool? But that's something. All right. So that's something you did with your kids. Did you do any individual travel yourself?
Oh, yes, I did.
Where did you go? What's a favorite?
My favorite is Hilton Head, South Carolina. We've done several road trips to there. The 3-week unplugged was, we drove from South Texas. We had no destination. We just had to be in Hot Springs, Arkansas at a certain point. So we just drove wherever we wanted. I'm a big proponent of wherever the dart lands on the map is where I will go.
Yeah. Wow, love this. This is good. I like the spontaneity of it all. So last thing, with regards to your travels and plans, what's next on the horizon? What trip is next?
Mid-August, my business partner and I are going for a 2-week unplugged trip to Hawaii.
Oh, beautiful. That's where I'm actually going in a few weeks. So maybe I can let you know how it is. It's great, by the way. I'll be there just in a few weeks. All right. So with all that being said, Leslie, this has been amazing. I've really enjoyed our conversation. I felt we covered quite a few topics that are very, very important, especially as they relate to accounting professionals. I want to actually extend to everyone listening an invitation. Leslie is inviting everyone in the group here to join her private Facebook group. In the episode description, you can go and find the link there to join her group. And in doing so, actually participate in conversations that she is having there to help us as accounting professionals offer great quality services and have a great lifestyle as well. So I invite you to go to the episode description and find out how you can join Scaling to CEO, and really in that vein, take advantage of the different resources in the community there. In addition to that, I invite you to actually go check out the episode description to join Accounting and Bookkeeping Tips. It's also a Facebook group for accounting professionals. It's where you can get advice and information from your peers as accounting professionals. Basically, a lot of people throw in their questions that they're dealing with that are client related, things that they would like to have more information on or insights. And it's a wealth of information that you'd want to take advantage of. Lastly, we also want to, with all of this being said, invite you to check out what you can do to become a profit and growth expert. It's allowing you to work on your business, implementing the principles taught in the books In the Black and Red to Black. And in doing so, actually find the time to work on your business as we've been discussing today. Now, Leslie, what I'd like to do is come back to you for a closing thought. But before I do that, I'm going to just kind of summarize a little bit of what we've been discussing today. The first thing I'd point out is Leslie's story of coming into the accounting professional is, I think, so important. So often I speak with people who are, as she described herself, a single mother trying to get back into the workforce, trying to find herself from an employment point of view. And ultimately, it puts her in a situation where she can start her business, and she did exactly that. Now, in starting her accounting bookkeeping business, she found herself in a situation where she needed to build a company that was on her terms and was meeting her demands and lifestyle, that of a single mother and her interest in traveling. And so we obviously talked about how that was very important. And she broke away from her mother's CPA firm and started her own. And that's, I think, a very important story to recognize, that sometimes it causes us to make difficult decisions, but in the end, it is for the best. She obviously was able to maintain her relationship with her mother, although she commented that there were those awkward dinners at times that may happen. And I think that's true. I think so often there are those of us who have family that are associated with our business and our successes. And sometimes things just go different directions, and we've got to try and hold those relationships together. And I think that's something worth noting. The other thing that I also found was her emphasis on being overwhelmed and controlling. Those are two sensations that I oftentimes find with accounting professionals as I interact with them. That sense of overwhelm, so much that needs to be done, so much that needs to be done presumably by them, and letting go of that. And that idea of the control as well. Those were two healthy conversations that I'm glad we had. I also really appreciated the fact that we were able to dive a little bit deeper in how to do that. I shared the idea of documenting, duplicating, and delegating, and how that can help provide that transition. The other thing that I thought was very important is how oftentimes we build businesses that oftentimes consume us. And it's going through this evolution of, like Leslie was pointing out, just finding the liberation, the ability to find time and the ability to travel, creating relationships with our clients that they can lean on our employees and trust our employees and see the greater team of individuals that we have working for us and appreciate all of their efforts rather than just us at the forefront as that client-facing individual. So lots of good takeaways here. I appreciated her advice earlier as well. So that's kind of a great summary of the show. I hope that kind of resonates with what you were hearing. So Leslie, is there anything you'd like to add or conclude with?
That if you're not happy in your business, you have the ability to change it, because it is your business. No matter whether you're early on or later on in life, you have the ability to change it. It doesn't have to be that way.
Beautiful. Excellent advice. All right. So everyone, here's what I want to do. Obviously, if you haven't already subscribed, definitely subscribe to the podcast. We want to encourage you to do so, and mark that you would like the notifications of when the different episodes are released. We come out with a new episode speaking with the experts each and every week. In here, we actually have also highlight reels that you can go take advantage of. Go back and binge listen to those certain episodes that appeal mostly to your current situation. I also want to encourage you to join us for GrowCon. GrowCon is an annual event for owners of accounting, bookkeeping, and tax businesses. It's where we get the owners together and invite you to actually join us for an annual event to work on your business, to hear from the experts off the stage, to interact with the peers, those doing exactly as you are, build associations and affiliations that you can leverage to better take care of your clients, and of course, also meet the team here at Universal Accounting so that we can help you be in business for yourself but not by yourself with Universal. With that, definitely check out GrowCon and get registered. Also, with regards to the information here today and other things that we've covered in the show, if you'd like more information about these things, feel free to reach out to Universal. You can contact us at 801-265-3777, or you can also visit us online at universalaccountingschool.com. So do take care, have a beautiful day, and always remember this: if it's about accounting, it is Universal. Take care.